To start, my name is Sean Hughes. I'm Democratic Services Officer, and today we're going to be meeting for a licensing panel for cozies. I'd like to take nominations for chair, please.
I would like to nominate Councillor Parrott, please.
Thank you.
I'll second
Any other
that.
nominations? Okay, so Councillor Parrott, over to you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the nomination. So we'll start with our procedural business. Are there any declarations of substitutes this morning? No? Are there any declarations of any interests?
No.
Okay. There are no non-public items on this agenda, and therefore we will not be excluding the press or the public for any item today. And we are being webcast, so all of this is in open session. So this is an applicant for a new premises licence for cozies, 10 Dyke Road, Brighton, BN1 3FE. Before we begin, can I ask everybody around the table to introduce themselves? And I'm going to start with the panel. Councillor Hewitt.
Hi everyone, I'm Councillor John Hewitt for Hangleton and Null Ward and a member of the Licensing Committee.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Hi, I'm Alison Thompson. I'm the Councillor for Regency Ward and a member of the Licensing Committee. Thank you.
Okay. And I'll just go round my screen from services, from licensing.
Hello, my name is Sean Hughes. Oh, sorry if you.
No, that's fine, Sean. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, my name's Sean Hughes. I'm from Democratic Services, and I'll be clerking the meeting. Thank you.
Corinne.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Corinne Hardcastle. I'm the licensing officer introducing the application today.
And from the police, we have.
Morning all, it's Mark Thorogood, Police Licensing for Brighton and Hove.
Okay, and who is here from the applicants?
Good morning everyone, my name's Harvey Sarney and I'm the Director of Cozies.
Good morning everyone, my name's John Briggs and I'm the owner of the 10 Dyke Road, the commercial premise.
And we have James as well.
I think he just does the webcast, Chair, so.
Apologies, yeah. And from the press.
Good morning, Sarah Booker-Lewis, local democracy reporter for Brighton and Hove, representing the majority of news media in the city.
Perfect, thank you very much. Have I got everybody? It's not always easy to see on the screen.
I'm Rebecca Siddell, legal advisor to the panel. Thanks.
Sorry, Rebecca, of course. Thank you. Can you please ensure as we go forward that your microphone is on when speaking, but off for the rest of the time so that we don't have any interference with noise, and if possible, that your camera is on, as it is very nice to actually see people. And please, yes, I'll now hand over to the licensing officer, Corinne, to introduce the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. As we have heard, this hearing is for a new premises licence for cozies situated at 10 Dyke Road, Brighton, BN1 3FE. The application originally proposed sales of alcohol on and off the premises, but off sales of alcohol have now been removed from the application. And as a consequence, the representation from the licensing authority has been withdrawn. So the application is now for sales of alcohol on the premises only and recorded music on Tuesdays to Fridays from 1400 to 2300 and Saturdays and Sundays from 12 noon to 2300 with the same opening hours. I will leave it to the applicant to explain the application and proposed operation in more detail, but section 18 of the operating schedule of the application is detailed at Appendix A, which is on page 33, together with an appendix prepared by the applicant containing further information about the proposed operation at pages 34 and 35 of today's agenda. A plan of the premises is attached at Appendix B on page 37. 4 representations were originally received. They were received from Sussex Police, the Licensing Authority, which, as I mentioned, has since been withdrawn, a local business, which was also subsequently withdrawn, and one in support from the freeholder. These representations had concerns relating to the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder, the prevention of public nuisance, the protection of children from harm, and public safety. Full details of the representations can be found in Appendix C. Responses to the police representation from the applicant can also be found at pages 47 to 51. The representation from a local business was subsequently withdrawn following agreement to an additional condition, which can be found at Appendix D on page 57. Conditions agreed with the Environmental Protection Team can also be found at this appendix as well, Appendix D. These premises fall within the special stress area, and the special stress area is of concern to the licensing authority because of the relatively high levels of crime and disorder and nuisance experience within it. For all new and varied applications for premises within the special stress area, operators will be expected to pay special attention when drawing up their operating schedules and to make positive proposals to ensure that their operation will not add to the problems faced in these areas. Appendix A of the Statement of Licensing Policy sets out a list of potential measures the licensing authority considers may be appropriate. And these may be more or less appropriate depending on the style of operation being applied for. And these best practice measures can be found from pages 29 and 30 of the agenda. A matrix approach to licensing decisions has also been adopted, and this provides a firm framework of what the licensing authority would like to see within its area and gives an indication of the likelihood of success or otherwise to investors and businesses making applications. The matrix can be found on page 13 with explanatory notes at page 14. It is important to note that each application will be given individual consideration on its own merits. Many thanks.
So you're
Through you, Chair,
Councillor
you're
Parrott,
on,
you're on
you're on
mute.
mute.
Apologies. Are there any questions to what has just been said from members of the panel?
No, thanks.
No
yes,
questions?
please. Thanks, Chair. Hi, Corinne. On the Appendix B, where the plans are detailed of the premises, the terrace area is bordered in blue. Is that to say that's not a licensable area, or does that indicate something else?
No, that is going to have sort of a licensable activities outside. That should really, I think we will get, depending on how the application, if the application is granted, we will probably get an amended plan to show that out external area in red.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's the understanding. I mean, Harvey will be able to explain a bit later, but I think that, so where you have, sorry, just on the plan, so where you have on the basement plan, my understanding is where you have a yard out the back there, that won't be used, Harvey, I think, or the, by members of the public, but the external one on the ground floor will, so we might need to have to swap those over so that the red line goes on the ground, but isn't extended downstairs. Is that correct, Harvey?
That is correct. So the basement yard won't be used by guests. The front terrace will be used by guests. We can get some plans updated and issue them following on from today.
Yeah, so as I say, if the panel are minded to grant the application, Harvey can maybe undertake that within a certain amount of time we will receive a new plan so that the outline in blue on the ground floor will be red and it will exclude the yard in the basement. If that
works for me.
Okay. Rebecca.
Oh yeah, I was just going to clarify that. So it's not a tables and chairs license. It's actually part of your premises. So it could be in red then. It's not part of the highway, that bit at all.
No, my understanding it's part of Harvey's demise.
Okay.
That's correct.
Any further questions from the panel? No? Okay. Are there any questions in relation to what has been said from representatives of the responsible authorities? We have the police.
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions in relation to what has just been said from the applicants, just on this issue? just on what's been presented?
Nope.
No? Okay. All right, that's great. So I'll now hand over to Sussex Police to make their representation. Thank you.
Good morning all, and thank you, Chair. I will try and get through this without coughing and spluttering. I've got a stinking cold right now, so please bear with me. As mentioned, we are considering today a new application for an alcohol licence located on Dyke Road, Brighton. This was originally to permit both on and off sales of alcohol, but now is for on sales only, as well as recorded music, and to be open to the public between the hours of Tuesday through to Friday, 1400 to 2300, Saturday through to Sunday, 12 noon till 2300, and the business closed on a Monday. The location of the premises is very relevant to our representation and is likely to feature largely in your considerations as to grant or not. Under the Statement of Licensing Policy 2026 edition, the location sits within the special stress area. However, the city safety area is just 40 metres away. Within our representation, we have included an image to show how close the venue is to areas such as West and North Street and Queen's Road, all of which play a big part within our nighttime economy and alcohol consumption. When looking at the policy matrix within the special stress area, a new bar or cafe would be looked at favourably. Within the city safety area, a new bar is unlikely to be granted unless exceptional circumstances can be demonstrated. A new cafe licence would again be looked at favourably. With the location and the policy matrix in mind, I will now cover off the style of operation as we see it. This is based on the application itself, our email communications with the applicant, and additional information we have seen within the licensing hearing documents. The details given within the application and under the operating schedule were limited, so we sent Mr. Sini, the applicant, an email asking several questions. This included, amongst other things, querying the opening hours being asked for, details regarding food provisions and around the request at the time for off sales. The response we received regarding the opening hours was that the venture was to be predominantly centred around alcohol provisions. And despite mentioning food in the application, this was for a future option by way of collaboration with third-party providers. The off sales was going to be for customers to be able to take away, but not a core part of the business. And as we know, this has now been removed from the application. On reading this and following on from several other emails with the applicant, we feel this venue would very much run as a bar first and foremost, with any food options being limited and provided by a third-party off-site operator. Within the application, it states the operation is centred around alcohol provisions. And as I say, this is further evidenced by the operating times being applied for. The applicant, they have not agreed to a condition we propose that alcohol will be ancillary to other hot and cold non-alcoholic beverages. So again, alcohol being the focus. Food options will only run until 8 p.m. and will be provided by an off-site provider. So there is no incentive for the applicant to push the food aspect of things, as they have no overheads in the aspect of operating an on-site kitchen. Within supporting representations from the freeholder of the premises, they have confirmed that food-led venues are not viable in this location. Sorry, we've got an announcement. It's okay. We would have supported a cafe style licence here, subject to food being prepped and provided on site. That way, we know that food would be fully promoted, and this is not being used as a way of obtaining a bar via the back door. The Statement of Licensing Policy itself has safeguarding around this by stating under 3.4.3 that under a cafe style licence, sell alcohol to customers for consumption on the premises is in addition to other food and drink products. Food and drink is served to customers seated at a table, including to any outdoor designated area. Food is prepared on site and the premises will have a fully operational kitchen. A full menu of hot and cold food items available will be clearly on display within the premises and generally operate in the daytime and early evening only. A new bar in this location is not ideal due to the proximity to West and North Street and Queen's Roads, areas already with a high number of licensed premises and the impact these have on police and other emergency services. Crime data for a 12-month period between the 12th of February 2025 and the 11th of February 2026 shows that within a 200-metre radius of the premises and excluding shoplifting offences, there have been 209 violence against the person, 129 public order offences, 38 robberies, 36 drug offences, and 20 sexual assaults. We acknowledge that not all of these will be linked to alcohol and licensed premises. However, with these crime types, alcohol often plays a part, be that being under the influence of alcohol and causing crime, or being the victim due to their own intoxication level. Looking at the ward itself, we can provide additional information around crime involving alcohol. So the Regency ward for the same period had 509 crimes recorded where intoxication played a part. In addition to this, 147 crimes recorded against persons intoxicated and being the victim, and 27 with the victim under the influence of both alcohol and drugs. A total of 683 alcohol-related crimes reported. The time when the peak of this is occurring from 2200 onwards, especially at weekends. The time when people are moving between venues, and with this one proposed to close at 2300, will potentially add to this mix. When comparing this with the public health framework for assessing alcohol licensing, Regency ward is ranked top out of 23 wards for sexual offences and injury caused by violence. It's also ranked second highest for violence against the person, non-injury assaults and criminal damage. The data we feel validates the need for serious consideration of refusing a new alcohol-led licence in this location. To further cement this, all the additional safeguarding initiatives that operate within the city, such as beach patrol, safe space and night safety marshals, evidences the negative impact alcohol has within the city centre and seafront locations. Our conclusion is, within this location, being hot on the heels of our most saturated licensed areas, we can only support a cafe-style licence with all the conditions that are associated with that to ensure food is prepared and promoted on site and that alcohol is ancillary to other drink options. However, all the communication we have had with the applicant, it is clear this is not something they would agree to, or if they did, be able to deliver on, and will end up with breaches further down the line. The applicant has been very engaging with us, and we have on a couple of occasions suggested he seeks out a venue that might be on the market that already holds a licence with conditions and an operating schedule that might suit the trading style he is aiming for, or look for a premises that is further out of the city centre, so reduces the cumulative impact risks. It's not that we don't support the applicant, it's due to the location that we unfortunately are unable to support a wet-led operation. Taking into consideration the crime data provided, the evidence pointing to a more alcohol-led venue and the location of the premises, Sussex Police are asking the panel to consider refusal today. And if this is the case, as with all applicants, our door is open to have discussions and offer advice around any future application Mr. Sini may wish to make. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Anil, do we have any questions in relation to this for the police?
Please, Chair.
Councillor Hewitt.
Thanks, Mark. So reading through the email correspondence Sussex Police had with the applicant, it seems like the vast majority of your sort of proposed conditions have been accepted by the applicant, but it seems like the main sort of sticking points is that there won't be a food offering between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. Is that correct? And also looking through, there seems to be the police's preference was for there to be like an on-site in-house kitchen, where the applicant is responding saying no, they would be having a sort of external provider providing the food offering. Is that a sticking point, or is it just the timings?
No, all of that is a sticking point, because it all again points to it being more alcohol led. I mean, within the statement of licensing policy itself, it clearly states in there when it is a cafe style license that food is to be prepared on site with a fully functional kitchen. The problem is if you're using an outside provider, there's no real incentive for you to promote that, because you haven't got the overheads of having a chef, of running your own kitchen, or having food within the kitchen that you need to sell before it goes out of date. So by having it a requirement to be prepared on site, we know that the venue will then push food along with the alcohol sales. And obviously having food with alcohol is going to reduce the risk of intoxication. Obviously finishing food at 8 o'clock with their outside provider still gives us then 3 hours of sitting there being able to drink without even having the option to order any food.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, my question was along similar lines. I mean, if you thought, Mark, that they were going to extend the food offering beyond 8 o'clock at night, would that sort of, make you look more favourably on the application?
It would do, because the condition is normally that substantial food will be made available all the time, that alcohol is also available. But like I say, if the food's not going to be prepared on site, it's how much is that option going to be actually physically promoted? And on the statement of licensing policy, as we're fully aware, which was renewed in 2026, this proposal that there should be a fully operational kitchen on site and fully promoted in-house was added into the policy as a new feature, because we were seeing cafe licenses coming through without even having kitchens on site. So this is a new addition to the policy, and it's one that we fully stand by. Like I say, I mean, the applicant has been really engaging with us, and that is a really positive thing. And this isn't about the applicant, this is about the location.
Does having the outside area bother you? Does that
no, not really,
because
it is a terraced area, so it's not heavily actually on the footpath. It is a terraced area, and because the venue is quite small, it's most probably totally visible from inside to be able to see the terrace area and manage that. And I can't imagine to be able to get that many people on it anyway.
No, it's good.
But
it's Cozies for a reason, right?
Yeah, it is just this location, with it being so close to Queen's Road and West Street and North Street, our busiest areas for things like hot marble, etc.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions in relation to what has been just said from representatives of the other responsible authorities, the licensing authority?
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay, and are there any questions in relation to what has been said from the applicant?
No, I can briefly expand on the sort of the point Mark raised around incentive to promote food, or I can cover that in my allocated time.
It would be better if you covered that in your representation.
Absolutely.
That If you've got any questions specifically for Mark at this point.
No, thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a specific question for Mark. Hi, Mark.
Thank you.
You mentioned you did some analysis within 200 metres of the property. Can you confirm whether you can, those in the figures you sold us, can you actually confirm what times of the day that those crimes occurred?
No, so the data that I do within 200 metres is all time of the day and night. But then obviously I did
So
mention
there's no specific whether
no,
it's 2 in the morning or
out. So obviously I stripped, as I mentioned, I stripped out the shoplifting because obviously that would be totally unfair to use shoplifting offences within this. But I did mention that the peak of the crime, as we would expect for the crime types that are reported on, the peak of them started from 10 o'clock at night going into the evening, especially at weekends. Because
okay. I thought you mentioned that with respect to the Regency ward statistics, not the 200 metres.
No, sorry. So yeah, I mentioned it after the Regency ward, but that is similar as well for the 200-metre radius. And I don't think anybody would be surprised about that because of the location being so close to our main nighttime economy area.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Any further questions for the police at this point? Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to the applicants to make their representation. Are you both planning to speak or just one of you?
I was planning to speak before Harvey. I believe that would be the useful order as the landlord.
That's great. Thank you very much. Take it away.
I've prepared something, so I'm reading from something reasonably scripted, but hopefully I'll rattle through it as quickly as possible. Good morning, Chair and members of the Licence Committee and others present. I took a deliberate decision to support Cozy's premises application because I am satisfied that the proposed use is appropriate for this location, and importantly that it will be well controlled. The previous cafe was not licensed and ultimately failed as a purely food-led business. The application is not about creating a late night bar, it's about establishing a modest, sustainable and properly managed use of the premises. The key factors for me are control and accountability. It's a small premise with limited capacity where customers will be fully seated, no vertical drinking, with a closure time of 11 p.m. I must say that 11 p.m. closure time was originally stated on the application, has not changed from the original. So this shows that Cozy's is not interested in the high intensity late night economy and instead prioritising residential amenity of the area. This deliberate choice to attract a more mature local demographic customers and with dispersal well before the peak hotspot hours where the majority of alcohol-related crime and disorder and public nuisance occurs. Mr. Siney is willing to cooperate with clear structure, including the availability of food and also robust conditions around CCTV, Challenge 25, inclusivity and incident management. The unit has struggled with sustainability in the past, so having an active frontage which will actually improve the street safety by reducing the opportunity for rough sleeping and littering, plus offering additional CCTV coverage in the area, I believe will make an overall improvement. Furthermore, the lease will contain specific clauses allowing us to take action if the tenant breaches their premises licence, and a shadow licence will be applied for to add a further layer of control and accountability. I'm available to the licensing authority, police and local residents should they have any concerns regarding the management of the property. In summary, Cozy's will be fulfilling the exact aims of the current licensing policy, and I believe firmly that it will be a high quality addition to the city without cumulative impact on the licensing objectives. Thank you. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, apologies. So Harvey, if you'd like to follow up and then we'll take questions for both applicants after.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I was just going to say maybe it's more appropriate to take the questions now for the supporting representation, and then hear the applicant. Do you think? I mean, it's
If
it's up to you, but he's made a representation, so
yeah, no,
he's
that's fair. That's fair, Rebecca. Thank you. Councillors, do we have any questions for the landlord?
Not for me, thank you.
Well, I sort of do, but actually now that they're going to be separate, maybe I might be more inclined to ask because there was a couple of things that I wanted to ask about. Like, for example, you've mentioned that the customers are going to be local. I don't know how you can guarantee that when it's sort of practically en route from the railway station. I wasn't sure if that was something that you could answer, or maybe I should ask the applicant. And then also you were mentioning about selling high quality, and I just wondered what the offering was going to be to make it high quality. I don't know if is it like is it going to be cocktails rather than, I don't know, white lightning or something? I'm not quite sure.
I'll
But
cover
they-
that off in my section.
Personally, yeah, they're all for Harvey, I think.
Okay. Thank you.
Harvey, would you like to, unless the police have got any questions for the landlord or the licensing authority?
Yes, please,
Mark.
Chair. Yes,
Yeah.
please. Just got the one. Thank you for your presentation. Just a quick question over the shadow license, why you think that adds any impact? Because obviously the police are here today objecting to the current license. If a shadow one's coming in under the exact same grounds, then obviously we would most probably be objecting to that as well. I don't see how a shadow license gives us, the police, any kind of safety blanket. If anything, it just gives yourself a safety blanket that if we do call a review of the premises, you're still sitting on a license in the background. So yeah, I was just wondering just a bit more of your thinking on that, please.
Yeah, I think it's common practice actually. I did some research, and it seems a sensible thing that people, landlords, apply for shadow licenses so that the property, if there was a default in rent or some issue, that obviously the property can be remarketed as a licensed premises on the exact same terms. So that's the sort of practical side of it. But I believe it does give further oversight from the landlord's perspective on the operation of the business, because they have some skin in the game, dare I say, not necessarily the right phrase, but they are, closely aligned with the current operation in terms of the license, the shadow license.
Yeah, I mean, you can log with the council interest in the business. There's an application form, I believe, online, which then means you would be linked and being made aware of any issues. Because the problem is with a shadow license, if we called a review of the premises because of ongoing issues, the likelihood we would just be calling a review on the shadow license as well if it's a like for like. So, as far as the police are concerned, we don't see that as a safety blanket. That's more a safety blanket for you, for your own personal investment of having ownership of that actual physical building.
Yeah, and I see it as total more accountability that I have on the tenant.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can you just, I'm really sorry, can you give me 1 minute? I've got some second. Sorry. Apologies, they weren't going away, so I thought it's better to deal with it. Councillor Thompson, you have a question.
Yeah, sorry, just one more about the sort of to the landlord. Do you own other bars, properties that you rent out to for bars and things in the city?
No, that's my only commercial property in the city. I have some residential property.
Okay, and it's the first time that this one's applied for a license, is it?
Yes, it is. Yes, I
Okay.
mean, just a quick. I think Sam, the person from the news, is on. I think they wrongly put an article out saying this was the next door premise that had a license.
The axe throwing.
Yeah, and just
Very
to
confused.
to that point, there obviously was a licensed premise next door that's no longer, so that might play out in terms of one gone, one coming. So anyway, but I just wanted to maybe just mention that while it just sprung into my mind then, that this is not the axe throwing business. This is this. I remember as a child, I'm born and bred in the city. As a child, this was actually a chip shop many years ago, fish and chip shop. And then I believe it was a newsagent, and then it was run when I bought it by a guy who had a physiotherapy practice, or his wife did, and then it became a cafe. So it's had a few different uses.
Yes, axe throwing and alcohol, possibly not a good combination.
We did laugh at that, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Chair, you're on mute, I'm afraid.
Still on mute, Sam.
You're still, yeah.
It keeps clicking out. I'm really sorry. I don't know what's going on. Harvey, would you like to present your application?
Yes, thank you. I've also prepared a short statement, which I'd like to read, just to ensure that I've captured all the key points I'd like to put across today. I wanted to start just by sharing a bit of information about me. So I've grown up in Brighton. I've lived here all of my life, aside from a few years in Southampton when I studied for my business management degree. I come from a construction sales background, but prior to that, I have extensive experience working in hospitality at a family-run business in Hove. I'm a small batch craft beer enthusiast and an early stage small batch brewer of beer. So Cozy's primary offering will be independent craft options to its customers, alongside a small selection of high quality wines and spirits. The beers will be predominantly keg dispense, i.e. draft beers. So to that, I've engaged with several microbreweries, many of which are based in Sussex, to develop a supply chain for these products. And the intention is to create a rotational supply, introducing new lines every 4 to 6 weeks. This will ensure that customers are constantly accessing new unique beverages that would largely be unavailable at the vast majority of other local premises. This will also include high quality, low and no alcohol options to support the emerging trend caused by shifting alcohol consumption habits. To complement the unique beverage offering, I've engaged with the local catering business who agreed in principle to provide the food for our customers. There are several benefits to this, including 1, providing a high quality food offering for our customers, 2, having an established specialist caterer, which provides us with continuity of supply, 3, using a popular, well-known food provider as a marketing strategy to increase our footfall, and 4, having an infrastructure which will enable customers to scan a QR code at their table, order their food, and for it to be delivered directly to them in their seat. Menus will also be placed on all tables, ensuring that there's high profile promotion of the food offering. And it'll also be promoted on likely on our digital platforms. There'll also be an incentive in the form of a rebate with the food provider, which is further reason for us to promote the food offering. The premises also currently has a functional kitchen, which I intend to retain, albeit without active usage initially. As the business matures and evolves, I plan to work with rotational guest caterers to offer a diverse, unique food experience for our guests. So as recently as this morning, I've had discussions with a vendor specialising in Nigerian street food, which provides an example of the experience I'm trying to curate, providing an inclusive place to bring communities together. We've put forward several measures in our application to promote the licensing objectives, including limiting opening hours, providing a robust yet flexible food offering, agreement to install approved digital systems, and signing up to groups such as the Brighton Crime Reduction Partnership and the Ask for Angela Safety Initiative. We've also agreed a set of measures with the Environmental Protection Team, as well as working constructively with our neighbouring businesses and the local authority to ensure that the licensing objectives are promoted alongside that of the business. The sole remaining concern is centred around prevention of crime and disorder and the impact our premises will have on the cumulative impact in the area. Just to offer some further insight and perspective from us on this, we want to be part of the solution, not the problem when it comes to crime and disorder. Our business and product offering is centred around responsible consumption, underpinned by a quality over quantity ethos. The craft nature of our products will be reflected in our price point, which will not appeal to those looking for cheap drinks and reduce likelihood of irresponsible drinking and the negative impact that comes with this. We're fully aware of problems that occur within the town centre, but we want to provide a responsible, community-centred and inclusive place for people to socialise on the outskirts without having to enter the busy central bars, as these are not to everyone's liking. We believe that diversifying the type of premises in our city centre, such as the one our business model is structured to achieve, will contribute positively towards attitudes and behaviours towards alcohol consumption. Our venue is very small and intimate. Based on the square meterage, we've advised on a capacity of 50, but in reality, with the seating and furniture configuration, I'd be surprised if it exceeded 30 at a time. With no vertical drinking proposed, this will promote a calm, relaxed atmosphere. And again, this will not be a late night venue, as is reflecting in our proposed operating hours. As the business evolves, I'll be very hands-on with the day-to-day running, even as we hopefully grow and expand our team. I'll ensure that the core principles I've mentioned both today and in our application are delivered through my team to the highest standard. That's all I'd like to say until the closing statement, and I welcome any questions you might have at this point.
Thank you, Harvey. If I may, as questions from the panel, I have a question. Can I ask why this venue, and have you looked for other venues?
I mean, I like the location is appealing. I like the fact that it's near the centre, but not necessarily within the centre. I think the appeal to me on, if you mirror the sort of the atmosphere and the vibe I'm trying to achieve with the venue. I mean, it's called Cozies for a reason, not chaos, for example. And wants to be a small, intimate, cosy venue where people can meet and socialise. And I think being on the outskirts of town without being inside the town, for example, someone could get off the bus at Churchill Square. It's quite a good place to get off the bus, and without having to head into the centre, it's just around the corner on the outskirts. I think is quite a commercially viable location for that type of meetup, and yeah, it just reflects sort of the atmosphere I'm trying to achieve with the place.
Okay, so you haven't looked for other venues that might give you some similar?
This is the sole location I'm actively engaged with.
Okay, great. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Harvey. Some of my questions have been answered. You mentioned about capacity. You mentioned about the upmarket offering. I mean, I hear you about being slightly off the beaten track, because obviously you're not in a direct route down from the station. I'm assuming that you're hoping to kind of price people out of the market so that if they are headed to a spoons light operation, they will just go straight to the spoons. Is that the thing?
Completely different. Absolutely agree with you. They're completely different markets. Where I mean, the people we're sort of looking to attract are craft beer enthusiasts. Probably the market there up near the Seven Dials on the way into town as well. And yeah, I mean, you can never really generalise this much, but I mean, I suspect the people that will be looking to come to our premises won't be the same people that are looking to go to, as you mentioned there, a Spoons, for example, where probably price is the main motivator from their business strategy, whereas for us, it's all about quality. It's sort of offering something unique and different, and something that ultimately where our guests won't be able to get anywhere else is what we're looking to achieve.
What are you offering in Hove? What's your family outlet?
It was a beachfront cafe on the seafront, formerly known as Mrs. Bumbles.
Also Lexi's now.
It is now Lexi's. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It was a while back, but yeah.
So you don't operate that anymore?
No.
Okay. Sorry, you mentioned something about a rebate for a food provider, and I didn't really understand what that meant. Would you be able to expand a little bit, please?
Apologies. Yeah, that was the last minute addition. Just I wanted to address the concerns that Mark raised around promotion of the food offering, and I thought it's worth mentioning that whilst we'll have menus on all the tables, which will be an active promotion to our guests, there is also a rebate. A commercial rebate between myself and the food provider. So it's in my interest to promote the food because there's financial benefit for that as well.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. That's it.
Councillor Hewitt, do you have any questions?
Sam. Hi, Harvey. Thanks. First of all, just like to begin by saying I think it's really positive that you've actively been liaising with the police. That is quite evident throughout the papers and the conversations we've had so far. I've got two questions sort of revolving around the food offerings. So sorry if I missed it in your representation, but say, are you prepared to have this offering of food until 11 o'clock? Because that would seem to go some way in addressing one of the conditions from the place.
So there's, and thank you for your questions there and your feedback. That's much appreciated. there are, I suppose, a couple of things to sort of highlight in that. I think it's fairly commonplace for, even if the food is in-house, for there to be a period of time between the kitchen closing and the business closing. So I think the trend with the hours I put forward is pretty common. There is also I have to factor in the operating hours of my catering provider as well. I think they shut at 9, so I could potentially extend that, not to right at the end point of our opening times, or closing time, sorry. I could look at extending that, but it will be limited to sort of their hours as well. Does that make sense?
And that does, thank you. And to follow up, and I think Rebecca may have to come in just to clarify some points in terms of how it relates to sort of our licensing policy. But so first of all, would that owl 2 at the end, Rebecca, be would that cover, as it's a cafe license where food is available, needs to be available at all time? And so just before you come in with that, back at Harvey, is so as it's an external provider providing this food, obviously there may be some times where which out of your control, they're unable to provide a service. Say, for example, they've got a lot of staff sickness and can't operate. Have you got any sort of contingency plan that you would be able to provide food if they can't? So you on your offering.
I do. I mean, there is a fully functional kitchen there, so I mean that is an option. It's I mean the reason we've selected for this to form part of our model is because we see it as more fluid and dynamic, and also one of the benefits, and I see this as a real sort of key benefit to us, is the continuity of supply, which I mentioned earlier. If I was to recruit a chef to sort of run the kitchen, if they were to call in sick or be unable to attend work one day, that would leave me in a pretty compromised position. Whereas I think a food business which has been established for 10 plus years seems to give me a bit more certainty around the food offering. And one other thing I've mentioned in the I think it's in the appendix document, was I'm happy to actively promote a bring your own food model as well, because I understand that whilst I think the food offering that we're partnering up with is fantastic and great, people might have different dietary requirements or different preferences, and I don't want that to be a barrier to people being able to access food. So I mean, if people want to bring their own food in, because there's lots of food options in the area, I'm more than happy for people to say, look, that's not to my liking, can I bring my own food in? That's absolutely fine with me as well. So I think there's a few contingency plans, just to answer your questions there, which should hopefully remove all the barriers to customers accessing food, because I agree with the sort of concerns that have been raised previously. You want people to be able to access food if they're consuming alcoholic beverages.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks for that, Harvey. And it's okay, Rebecca, if you come in with the point I made. So is that acceptable under the sort of cafe style license for the final hour or two to be, the sort of finishing up, clearing up from food?
Yeah, I mean, I think the matrix says that, definitions need to be applied flexibly according to the business model. So it's not a rigid, I mean, yes, it wouldn't technically sit completely within a cafe style if it didn't have all those requirements, but the matrix does say for the special stress area that public houses and bars are potentially till midnight. So there is, I mean, I appreciate the location, so there are those concerns as well, but so it's not a rigid, but it wouldn't sit completely within a cafe definition if it didn't have substantial food at all times, and there's other parts of that which maybe wouldn't be fit what they're doing, but it does, our policy does specify diversity of premises, and it does specify flexibility depending on the business model. So
brilliant. Thank you, Rebecca, that's helpful. And thank you, Sam, that's all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Hewitt. I have a couple more questions. One of my questions was, how much roughly are you going to charge for a pint?
So early indications are probably somewhere between £6 to £7.5 a pint based on the supply chain I've built up so far. That will vary on supplier, on style of drink, if it's core range, and clearly sort of some of the lines we'll be getting in will be specialist lines as well, which are sort of one-off specials from the breweries. But based on all the pricing that I've collated so far, probably between £6 to £7.5 a pint.
Okay, so it's not massively expensive compared to many other venues then in Brighton and Hove. I mean, the railway here charges nearly £8 a pint.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I
Not
agree.
that I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I think good quality beers at fair prices. I don't think it's certainly not cheap. But again, I don't want to be known for sky high pricing, because I think that's prohibitive to business success too.
Okay. And also I wanted to ask, would you consider at any point, if we were to say, for example, no to the license, would you consider a reduction in the opening times till 10 o'clock? Because if you think about the crime statistics, obviously 10 o'clock is when things, it is often when things escalate. Would you be willing to consider that as an option or not?
A preference for no, but I definitely would be willing to consider it. In an ideal world, I have the operating hours that have been laid out in the application, but I'd absolutely be willing to consider that reduction to 10 p.m. If it was a real concern to you, just to sort of work with you to find an agreement on it. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Harvey. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering about the music offering, Harvey. You mentioned that there's going to be recorded music. As you pointed out, you are right on the cusp of quite a residential area, and I'm a bit concerned about sort of the volume, particularly on the terrace.
So you've come to an agreement, and thank you for your question. Come to an agreement with the environmental protection team around noise. Also come to an agreement, the additional condition with the language school, our neighbour, that no external speakers no external speakers on the terrace Monday to Friday. I think between 9 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. off the top of my head, or 9 p.m. Which is massively sort of restrictive in terms of noise outside the premises. Music will be sort of via it'll be background music, predominantly via, say, a Spotify playlist. I've got some ideas around sort of like certain nights where maybe people can bring their own vinyl down and play music through the vinyl system, but that will only be, again, via single speakers within the building, so not high volume expected, and certainly no music or prolonged music outside onto the terrace as well.
So no speakers outside at any point?
Not planned at the moment, no. I mean,
okay.
The agreement with the language school was sort of Monday to Friday, but I mean, again, that's and the environmental sort of team sort of seem to be satisfied with that too. But yeah, not really any plans to play music outside to the terrace.
Because you've got an inside and you've got a basement, haven't you? So
Yeah.
There's plenty of scope for that inside. So when you're talking about the capacity of sort of between 30 and 50, then is it all table seating on both floors?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the furniture still to be sort of configured and sort of really mapped out.
It's all right. I wasn't concerned about the decor, but just I mean, you did say it was all going to be seated. I did wonder about bar. I mean, I don't know. Is there going to be like bar seats maybe, or something like that, or window seats kind of high up, or something like that?
Current plans are for sort of like a bench system.
Oh, okay, cool.
Benches and tables.
Very sociable. Thank you.
Councillors, any further questions?
No, thank you.
Are there any questions in relation to the applicant from the police?
Yes, please, Chair. Just a couple. So first of all, are you planning to be showing any sports or anything inside the venue? Will there be TV screens up, etc.?
Hi, Mark. No plans for that.
No plans for that. Cool. And then the other thing is just, again, I mean, I'm sorry to keep harping on about it, but it is about the food aspect of it. Using your third party, how is that going to work with delivery? Because obviously where you're located, parking is not really an option to be able to pull up outside to deliver food and everything. Is it coming from far? I mean, I appreciate you might not be able to tell us in a public forum who this food provider is going to be, but how would that actually work?
So it would be delivery on foot. So the premises, I think, was within 400 foot. I actually timed it. It's about 39 seconds it took me to walk from Cozy's to the food provider. So it's very close. The current arrangement is for delivery to be undertaken by foot by one of their members of staff. However, that might evolve to a point where we might have to do some running back and forth, but that's not a logistical challenge for my team, because as I mentioned, it's a 40-second walk.
And their operating hours would match your operating hours?
Their current operating hours are closed at 9 p.m. So again, there's a slight variance in our operating hours.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it is still a concern for us, but yeah, I've got no further questions on that. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Can I just check if anyone else has any further questions at this point for the applicant?
Oh,
Rebecca?
yeah, through you, Chair. I was just going to, the applicants made some comment on the police conditions, and I didn't know whether that just needed any clarification. That's at page 47, I think, of the papers. So I think the substantial food one, not preferably 8 or at a push 9 p.m, wasn't it? I think if the panel, obviously this is in terms of if the panel were minded to grant. And I think there's one about door supervision, but you've said to be discussed. But is that a number 8 about a risk assessment on door provision? Don't know.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Actually, I had a question about door supervision, because you had that the door supervision would be there for a significant period of time, but not necessarily all of the time. Could you just clarify that for me?
Well, I think it was a risk assessment, wasn't it? The condition proposed is a risk assessment. It's on page 48, condition 8. So it's a risk assessment, and I think the applicant said he'd appreciate further discussion on the point. I just wondered whether it was a condition that was posed some problems, or whether that had been resolved.
Do you want me to put some context around that condition?
That might be useful, Mark. Thank you.
Cool. So the reason that condition was put on by ourselves is because of our belief that it is going to be very much a wet-led venue, and the location of that being right by the nighttime economy. So if it was a genuine bona fide cafe license with all the kitchen and everything all included, then that kind of condition we would not have put on this license, because the risk of that is a lot lower. Because we believe that the venue is going to be very much alcohol led, that condition is put on there because there is a higher risk of higher intoxication levels. And what that condition means is that the applicant would need to have a written risk assessment that would take into consideration events that are happening around the city, seasonal times like bank holiday, Christmas, any kind of events that may be held in the venue if they have a private hire for a birthday party, etc. And it would list the considerations they've made to decide whether they need to have physical SIA people working at the venue during those times. So yeah, that's really the context of the actual condition itself.
Thank you. Harvey?
Yeah, we're comfortable with that, and that's something that is a piece of work that I'll still need to undertake, but I'm more than happy and willing to undertake that risk assessment.
Okay. Rebecca, does that clear it up for you?
Yeah, I think it was just that there was a query over the acceptance of that condition, and if the applicant's, saying that's a condition they'd be willing to accept, then that's cleared it up. Thanks.
Excellent. Do we have any further questions from anyone at this point? Last chance.
No, thank you, Chair.
Okay, so we'll now move on to summaries. Can I remind all parties that at this point you should no longer be introducing new information that has not already been raised as part of your representation, and we will begin with a summary from the licensing officer.
Thank you, Chair. This hearing is for a new premises licence for Cozies at 10 Dyke Road, Brighton, BN1 3FE. You have now heard from all the parties present. Licensing guidance states that in determining the application with a view to promoting the licensing objectives in the overall interest of the local community, the licensing authority must give appropriate weight to the steps that are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives, the representations, including supporting information presented by all the parties, the guidance, and its own statement of licensing policy. It is important to note that each application will be given individual consideration on its own merits. After considering all the relevant issues, the licensing authority may grant or part grant the application subject to certain conditions, and any conditions added to the licence to meet the licensing objectives should be clear, precise, and enforceable. Alternatively, the licensing authority may refuse the application on the grounds that it is appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and the statement of licensing policy. Many thanks.
Thanks, Corinne. Can I now have the summary from the police?
Thank you, Chair. As mentioned, our representation is not focused on the applicant themselves. This is purely based on the location being 40 metres away from Queen's Road, North and West Street, our main nighttime economy area. Although closing at 2300, this could feed into these areas, impacting further the crime data I've already provided. It's hard to condition a licence based on someone's vision and in turn future-proof it should the licence be transferred to later down the line. We can support a cafe-style licence as long as we have the conditions imposed that would ensure food is prepared on site and so fully promoted, and to support the recently updated statement of licensing policy. But we feel this is only an option if the panel believe the applicant will be able to comply with this. What we are unable to support is a wet-led venue, which we believe this is going to be, and we kindly ask the panel to consider refusal. We do commit, though, to work with the applicant going forwards, should the application be refused, on any future application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And can we have a summary now from the applicant, please?
So just to summarise, so we want to provide a community-led, inclusive, intimate place for the people of Brighton to explore beverages they've never had before, alongside a tasty bit of food and a catch-up with mates. We're committed to acting as responsible role models within the community, and we hope that you'll grant us the premises licence and that we can welcome you in to enjoy the atmosphere and refreshments one day.
Thank you, Harvey. And can I now move to any closing comments from our legal advisor to the panel?
Well, I was just going to say, Chair, through you, that I didn't know whether the freeholder wanted to have a closing summary because he hasn't.
Apologies. Yes. Would you like to make a closing summary?
No, I'm perfectly happy with what Harvey's mentioned and what I mentioned in my previous statement. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your time. Rebecca, any further comments from you?
No, I mean, you noted maybe what I said about the policy and the approach. If you've canvassed all possible conditions, do you have any questions of me specifically at all? No? Okay, well, I think then it's up to you to deliberate and come to a decision.
Thank you. The panel will now retire to make its decision. Please note that we will be accompanied by our legal advisor and by the clerk to the panel, but they will take no part in the decision-making process. The decision will be sent to you in writing within 5 working days with any appeal rights attached. Thank you all very much for your time and for attending today. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.